Danny.
And Rihanna's show, this is Danny, Rihanna's husband.
And this is Rihanna, Danny's wife. And today we are kind of continuing this Fallout conversation. If you're not aware, the Fallout TV show on Amazon Prime is the latest and greatest in the long storied history of video game adaptations. And it seems like the world is loving it, ourselves included, which we talked about in our previous episode. So if you haven't gotten a chance to check that out, go ahead and scroll back a little bit in your podcast feed or your YouTube playlist. But Danny, we're expanding the conversation today, right?
Yeah, we have a long list of other video game adaptations of shows and movies that's coming out in the future, and some that already came out years ago or recent. And we're going to be talking about like our favorites, and one that we felt like came out great, and some that didn't. And there's going to be a couple movies and TV shows coming down in the future. We don't know yet if it's going to be good or not. We'll have like a prediction if it's going to be a good or not. So, but first, I have a poll. This is a easy one because I posted this during the last episode of our podcast. Make sure to listen to that review of Fallout TV series. No spoilers. It's a very, very great conversation there. And we recorded that right after the red carpet premiere of the
Yeah, like
show.
we got home and hit record directly
Yep, straight
afterwards.
record. So I posted, "Are you going to watch the Fallout TV series?" And 100% said yes.
Yeah, easy
That was
yes.
a poll on Spotify. If you listen to Spotify, make sure to be part of our weekly poll. All right.
Yeah. I don't think it necessarily needs to be a poll, but I'd be curious to know who binged it versus who's trying to spread it out weekly and watching it over time. Because I don't know, the end of some of those episodes are such a hard cliffhanger. I don't know how you could possibly not hit next episode.
That was a very great conversation of the debate of should shows be weekly or just binge the whole thing, have everything available day one. I personally like the weekly format because read these episodes. Imagine watching the first two episodes and then we have to wait for the following week for
Yeah.
episode 3 and then 4 after that and so on. It will create a conversation throughout the whole week and theories and all this stuff. Like it's fun, like watching shows like that. But having everything into one, I feel like it's off. There might be spoilers. You get what I'm saying? Like it's a lot going on. So I don't know. Personally, I like the weekly. How about you? Do you like weekly or the whole season?
I think it depends on the show. If it's something that has shorter episodes, maybe like 30 minutes or 25 minutes, I think a full drop of a season is not quite as intimidating or difficult to, watch everything, catch up, and then have the conversations. When you
Mm-hmm.
have, 45, 50, 60-minute episodes, it is tough to binge a full 8 episodes quickly enough to be in the conversation when, as you mentioned, spoilers are a huge problem, especially for something like this that has a lot of twists and turns. I'm talking about the Fallout TV series in particular.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also harder to have that, Easter egg conversation as we're talking today about video game adaptations specifically. And, you know, there's so much in any video game that can be pulled from when you take it to either live action or an animation. There's, just less time to celebrate all of the, I know that reference moments. And it's
Mm-hmm.
a bit of a bummer. I think the Fallout TV series is so strong, and it absolutely could have held our attention week to week for a couple of months. And I think it's a bit of a missed opportunity on Amazon's part. We'll see if it gets the praise and lauds that it obviously deserves, in our opinion. If they'll get renewed for a second season, which it seems like they probably will, maybe they'll change it. Maybe they'll drop it in chunks or do like Netflix where they do half the season on one date and the other half on the next date so people have a chance to catch up. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. The sky is the
Mm-hmm.
limit for all of these different streaming services, especially with TV. So, yeah, we'll see
Yeah.
how they decide to do it.
Yeah, and I mentioned this before we mentioned our video game adaptation shows and movies. Usually companies would do this, especially streaming services, because they want to compete with Netflix, and there is like a weekly chart from Nielsen, and companies will do that when they release a whole bunch of episodes day one. People stream it; it will help them to climb on top of the charts.
Right, and the
Netflix is
charts measure
always
hours watched, so if
hours
you
watch.
drop
Yeah,
the whole season, more time
exactly.
watched.
Now, usually when you check out the charts of movies and TV shows that it's been out for a while, you'll see that, especially the episodes, you'll see that they have multiple. Like for example, the show that you will always see on the top of the charts from the Disney Plus streaming service is Bluey, because Bluey has so many episodes people are streaming. So I think that's why Amazon started doing that. Maybe they would change their minds for season two, have it like a weekly thing, but I think they wanted to start this strong for like the first season, so at least it could be at top of the charts. It's a great way to have like a major press release. You get what I'm saying? So, and I
Yeah.
know Netflix have done that with other video game shows like Castlevania, Arcane, and a couple other ones too. So, but yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So since you're mentioning other shows and video game adaptations, let's get into it. What are some of your favorite video game to either live action or animation adaptations?
Mm.
Let's
Now
let's
I'm
go
gonna
with like two or three because obviously
okay.
there's lots.
Not my favorite of all time or anything like that, but I think I have to put it up there. I really enjoy the original Mortal Kombat movie. I know for
Hell
some
yeah.
it might be cheesy. Love the soundtrack, love the fighting scenes in there, and I think I had a great time watching that movie back in the '90s. It was really really good. And I mean, watching it now, you're like, oh man, it's cheesy, but it was fun back then, man. It was a lot of fun. Um, there's this. Okay, so for those that love Final Fantasy VII,
Mhm.
back years ago, Square Enix did a movie based on Final Fantasy VII, like after the events of the game, years later, I believe. And they released this on deep. It was like DVD and Blu-ray during that time. There were like no release in the movie theaters, or there was no streaming service back then. It was just straight up to DVD. And I remember watching this, and it was phenomenal. Just recently, a couple weeks ago, for the first time before the release of the Final Fantasy Rebirth game, Square Enix once again re-released this movie, and they had it released now at movie theaters, like for the first time, and a lot of people went to see it. So it's like a celebration before the Rebirth came out. But yeah, if you're a fan of Final Fantasy VII, highly, highly recommend to watch this. I know it's available in other streaming services now, but at that time, straight up to DVD, and it was awesome. It was really, really good, and the story was exactly connected to the old game. So
Like a copy paste, or you mean like a
no, not the
continuation?
copy paste, but continuation. Like yeah, exactly. Like after the events of the original game for Final Fantasy VII. Hmm.
Cool.
It's really good. And for you,
Yeah, I think some of the I wouldn't say like my favorites, but most successful in my opinion. No, I guess I'll just say my favorites. My favorites have been definitely Arcane is up there, and
hmm
Arcane is of course in the world of League of Legends, and it is an animated show. So going from a video game art style to an animated TV show is less of a jump than to live action, but the art style for Arcane is so special and so beautiful, and we've been really blessed with some great quality animation over the last couple years, looking at things like Spider-Verse and The Boy and the Heron and lots of things like being in the mainstream, but
hmm
Arcane just has such a specific look and tone, and it's very different from the games, which I think is interesting because one of the things that I think makes a game adaptation successful is nailing the tone. But because League of Legends is a, multiplayer game, there's not as much storytelling as there is in a narrative based, live action or animated series. And in the animated series for Arcane, they just had such a specific point of view. Like they had a very specific feel and a very specific tone. The voice acting was top notch.
hmm
The story was really well told, and they left you wanting more. There's a season 2 coming, and I think they did a really great job of really dropping you into the world where these characters live, and showing you what it would feel like for the characters that you see, bopping across your screen when you're playing the game,
Mhm.
what it would be like for them to actually be living, breathing people, and how they interact with each other and their competing needs and wants and goals. And I thought it was just so beautifully done, and some fantastic cinematography in that piece.
Mhm.
Another one that I really liked more recently was Mario Brothers movie. I thought that was really, really fun. And aside from it being, like the first $1 billion movie of 2023, which, surprise, surprise,
Mhm.
gamers like movies too. I think it was just so fun and so vibrant. And I had the same joy that I felt when I first played the games, before I started dying over and over again. And it really felt like you were in that world and like it was real. And for it to be another animated movie this time, not TV series, it's so interesting how resonate it was, and how these characters felt so familiar, and the world felt so alive. And it's just, I think it's just delightful. And I think they could have done even more Easter eggs, honestly,
Mhm.
in that
Mhm.
one. And I know there's a second one coming, so we should be excited for that. And hopefully they lean in even more heavily. But when you see like the carts driving across Rainbow Road in order to get to like the castle, it's just like so fun. Like even games that aren't necessarily Super Mario Brothers ended up in this movie, and it just
Mhm.
felt like they really understood the source material. And I think that really lent itself to how successful it was, because it really just felt like a page out of our childhood memories just thrown up onto a movie screen, which was super delightful. Another one
Yeah.
that has been pretty well received, but maybe not my favorite, has been The Last of Us. That's more recent, obviously. And that's obviously from HBO. The Last of Us being a game from Naughty Dog Studios, a PlayStation exclusive. So not a lot of people played it compared to the number of people who have HBO, for instance.
Mhm.
And I thought it was interesting that it really resonated with people and really took off, because it's a very dark story. It's apocalypse. There's zombie like characters and not a lot of people around. And, almost at every turn, our main characters, Joel and Ellie, like face loss and tragedy and sadness. And it's a very big downer of a story. And one of
Mhm.
the reasons why I recognize how popular it is and how successful it was, but was a little bit tough for me, is because it lifted the storyline directly from the game, and had the really difficult task of retelling a story that we already know versus creating something new in a world that we know. And I
Mhm.
think for me that's where Fallout was way more successful, where the Fallout TV series is canon to the Fallout video games, which there's what, 7 of them or something like that. There's a lot. And it is part of that universe, but it's not showing us another version of something we are already familiar with. You know what I mean? Like it's not giving us the same story in a different visual language. It's truly original storytelling and original characters, and original narrative. And I think The Last of Us had a bigger challenge, on its plate, trying to tell us a story that we already know. So those are
Yeah.
those are ones that I think come to mind when I think of ones that did it really well. Besides, the ones you mentioned, Mortal Kombat is of course
Yeah.
fantastic.
And I knew you were gonna mention that. I knew you were gonna mention like the most recent stuff, but I also wanted to mention movies that based on video games that came out back in the days too. Because I think those two was
Yeah,
really good. Now
yeah.
I know you mentioned Arcane and Fallout, and a lot of people don't know the main actress Lucy. Her name is Ella. I can't remember her last name.
Ella
Ella's
Purnell.
Ella Purnell. She is also the voice of Jinx in Arcane.
Yeah, she's
A lot
2
of
for
people don't know
2.
that. Yeah,
She's
look at
doing
that.
great.
Back to back, two back-to-back video game adaptation
Shout
uh,
out to Ella.
series, and it's been a hit, both of them.
Yeah.
So now, I do want to mention this because I love. Here's the thing. I didn't like the Street Fighter Two movie that came out back in days. Van Damme was Gao
Yeah.
in the
With the hair.
in the movie. Yeah, it was so funny. But the soundtrack I really enjoyed because they had Nas. He released a song for that soundtrack of Street Fighter called 101. Really, really good. Look it up. You can find it on like YouTube and other places. It's not on streaming services for some strange reason, but you can find it on YouTube, and they're amazing, amazing. Now, another series that is really good, which I enjoyed. I was watching it too. Sonic on Netflix, and there's also Sonic the Hedgehog the movie. That's also came out theaters. You could also stream it on Paramount Plus. And now,
There's one and two, right?
yes, and they're working on a third one, which recently they just announced that Keanu Reeves is going to be the voice of Shadow, and a lot of people are
Yeah.
excited about it. A lot of people are excited
This is
about it.
the Knuckles movie, right?
No, this is no, it's not a Knuckles movie. It's the actual a new
Oh.
Sonic movie
Oh, well, there's a Knuckles, maybe not movie,
series.
maybe it's a series. I think that's another
Series.
Amazon one.
No, that's Paramount Plus.
Paramount Plus. I'm getting all over
Paramount
the place, but yeah,
Paramount
Knuckles,
Plus
and
exclusive.
shout out to I think I follow her on Twitter, the individual who chose "Knuck If You Buck" as the music for the Paramount Plus series for Knuckles, because it was
Oh, it's
just a
that.
brilliant,
That's
brilliant
funny.
choice for a song.
That's funny. That's funny.
Bravo.
Yeah, and also I really enjoy I mean, even though some of them were really cheesy, the Resident Evil movies that came out, it wasn't that bad. It was all
Yeah,
right.
they're
It was all
okay.
right. It was all right.
I would also give a quick shout out to the Lara Croft movies, the
Oh
original ones with
yes.
Angelina Jolie and Jonathan Ron Voight, and I thought those are
Hmm.
fun. They are definitely more in the camp side, like along with
Hmm.
Mortal Kombat. I haven't seen the most recent
Hmm.
Lara Croft movie, but I think those original ones are pretty fun.
Now I have a question for you.
Hmm.
Halo. I know we never
Yeah.
mentioned about it. So I have a love and hate relationship with that series. So I love the first episode of this of season two. Oh my god,
Oh,
phenomenal! That was like
great
strong,
opener. Great season opener.
strong. Yeah,
Yeah.
really great one. I have to finish the rest of the season, but I think Halo could have been like a Fallout series, new story, create a big buzz. It would have been a big hit for Paramount Plus and also for Xbox. But it started strong at season one and then just went downhill. Like within minutes, this is not a spoiler, but you see Master Chief taking his helmet off and everything throughout the whole
Which he
series.
literally never does in the games.
Exactly, and that kind of killed it for me, you know. But um, I'll watch it just to watch it, but it's not like a Fallout or Arcane or any of those recent or like The Last of Us, which is like phenomenal, phenomenal TV shows. I wish it started strong, and I think people still would have been talking about it and everything like that. You know, so I know that there was an announcement that we might see a Gears of War series. I believe is a series. I'm
That's
not 100%
interesting.
sure. I don't know if it's a movie or what, but I think it's a series.
Yeah.
But there has. I just hope that the script is good, the actors are good um, when it releases. I know years ago too. This is when uh, the Division came out for Ubisoft. They made an announcement they were going to work on a series, and it never came out. I don't know whatever
Hmm.
happened to that. And it was
Yeah.
I think that was supposed to be like a for like a streaming service. Years ago, they announced that when Part
Yeah.
Two came out.
Yeah, I mean, we have a
Hmm.
list here in front of us that we pulled up before we started recording of all of the rumored and potential upcoming video game, TV, and movie adaptations. So we're jumping around a little bit here, but
Yeah, sure,
I,
sure,
I think
sure.
I think what disappointed me with Halo is that it was very clearly a non-canon to the game's story, right? Like, and conversely, Todd Howard and Bethesda have confirmed that the Fallout TV series is canon to the game universe. But for Halo, I feel if it was presented as, hey, this is in the Halo universe, but it's a different timeline, or, it's, a different reality of what Halo could have been if X, Y, and Z happened to change the course of the history that you know and love from the games. I think that would have made it a little bit easier for super fans to get on board and really evangelize the game the way that Fallout fans are evangelizing the Fallout TV series, the way that Last of Us fans evangelize the Last of Us TV series, because
Hmm.
they would really feel seen and heard and like they could get behind it. and they'd say like, "Hey, I recognize this and this is similar and these things cross over between the two different timelines," and celebrate the differences versus being taken out of the story when they see a difference, right? And
Mm-hmm.
Master Chief or John, the main character, being so different from the very short for like spoken protagonist that we play in the games is really tough. But for a TV series, like, you can't have a guy who's always giving one word answers and never shows his face and never emotes. I mean, the Mandalorian kind of pulled it off, but even they had to pull the helmet off at one point, and yeah,
Mm-hmm.
many more voice lines, right? So it's tough. It's really tough to bring that kind of a game to life versus something like Fallout or Last of Us that have much more flexibility in the way they present the characters. But the Halo TV series definitely has been its own triumph and its own story. And for people who can get behind that, I think they have something they can really enjoy there. Um, there's another one that we talked about before we started recording that I think struggled a little bit personally. You said the Resident Evil movie, but I think what bothers me so much about that series, not being a Resident Evil super fan at all, is that it picks and chooses when it wants to be an adaptation, and then other times it's just a Hollywood blockbuster movie. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, I feel like
Mm-hmm.
it's not 100% committing to one or the other, and so it ends up feeling like it's not 100% successful at either thing. And it comes from an era where game adaptations weren't 100% faithful. That's fine. We have things like the Uncharted movie, we have things like the Assassin's Creed movie, which are, again, one foot in both worlds and don't necessarily nail it for me. And
Mm.
hopefully these successes are enough to really show what could be possible if you really commit, one way or the other. Like, if it's a Mario example or an arcane example, you're like, I'm going to just make an incredible animated feature, and it's going to pull from this world, and it's going to feel like you stepped out of it, and we gave you a brand new story. Or if you go in the route of live action, like, this is going to feel like you're playing the game, but you're actually just watching these characters go through it in a passive experience. But it takes you back every other second. You feel like you're in the game again. It makes you want to go back and play the game, right? That's something you said when you saw the Fallout TV series. I think that's
Mm-hmm.
the way to do it. The Pokemon movies have kind of gone in a completely different direction from all of that,
Mm.
and have
Yeah.
found their own success, which is pretty cool. But
Mm-hmm.
all that to say, there's lots of good ways to pull it off. There's not one formula that works or doesn't work 100% of the time. But I'm glad that the powers that be in Hollywood are starting to figure it out. Like, they're getting more and more successes in a row over
Mm-hmm.
time, and that makes me hopeful for the future. So we mentioned a couple that are coming up. You said the Sonic series is, of course, continuing, but some of the ones that we haven't seen before, not sequels, that I'm personally excited for. Number one has got to be Borderlands. I am
Mm.
a Borderlands super fan. Borderlands 2 is top three, one of my favorite games of all time. I am absolutely in love with the looter shooter genre, co-op gameplay, Anthony Burch's writing, all of the voice actors. It's just a very, very special game to me for lots and lots of reasons. But I gotta say, I'm nervous, Danny. I'm nervous for
Same.
this
Same.
one. So, what are
Yeah.
your thoughts so far for the Borderlands movie and what you've seen of it?
Um. So when I heard the announcement, I was like, "Oh man, this is gonna be tight. It's gonna be fun." Saw the trailer, made me pause for a second there. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I need to watch the whole thing. It's
Yeah,
like
of course.
Dungeons and Dragons. When I watched the trailer, I was like, "Man." When I watched the movie, I was like, "Okay." I was impressed. Like, it was really
Super fun
good.
movie.
So it could be similar to Borderlands. Like, maybe we didn't like the trailer, but the movie's actually fun. I think
It could
that's
be.
possible. That's possible. So. But
Yeah.
I think
I just hope the cast isn't like so big and so special and so accomplished that it becomes a movie about the cast instead of about the game. I think that's what I'm worried
yeah,
about.
I just hope that the story is good too.
Yeah.
We'll see. I don't know. But you know which one I'm very interesting watching because I know Jack Black is involved with this one. Minecraft.
Yeah, and Jack Black has been wonderful as far
Oh,
as
he's a gamer
adaptations
too.
goes, and
He's a
he's been
gamer.
in video games, he's been in gaming movies, like he's done it
Hmm.
all, right? And
Yeah,
I mean, the Peaches performance has taken on a life of its own. So even
yeah.
within a really amazing success of video game adaptation, he has the power to make it even bigger
Hmm.
than that one piece of cinema. So yeah, that's a good call out. I'm excited. And Minecraft, like the sky is the limit for the story since it's just an open world building game, right?
Yeah. You know, there is a game that people could play this on Netflix or any other console. It's called Minecraft the Story, I believe. It's like a
Yeah.
episodic. It's similar to like Telltale games, that type of vibe.
Yeah, it's choose your own
And
adventure game. I
choose
believe
your
it
own
is a Telltale
adventure.
game.
Oh, it is? Okay, yeah. So I know it's available on Netflix, so you don't have to own a console to play it. You could just do everything from your remote to the app and try it out. So, and it's really good. I heard nothing but great things about it.
Yeah.
One thing I want to mention: Five Nights at Freddy's. I haven't watched the one that came out in theaters, and
The
also
horror one. Yeah.
the horror one, and I quote horror movie
The
because it's not that
horror movie
scary.
that all the
But
kids wanted to go see.
yeah, I know it's available on Peacock, so people could watch it through there through the streaming service and everything. I know it was a huge success because what NBC Universal did, they released the movie at the theaters and Peacock at the same time, the streaming service, back to back, same day, boop, and it was a huge success that it got the green light for the sequel.
Yeah.
So
Well done.
yeah, yeah, so that's not a bad. Um, Now there's a couple here that I'm like, I have never heard about this.
Well,
The
let's not
at the
waste our
bottom,
time on stuff that's just rumors. Because it may be just like a rumor in here. I know you mentioned Gears of War, which very excited to see that. It's a wonderful
yeah,
game,
that was
great
announced. That was
story.
announced. Yes,
God
yes.
of War is another one that I would be very interested to see, whether it's
Mm,
an original story or a lift of one of the stories in the game. I think that could work. If it's the
yeah.
right team, if they give it the right approach, that's really
Hmm.
exciting. Another one, and these two are kind of similar. That I think the world is so interesting that it would just be really cool to see it come to life if they were able to do it in live action would be number one, Horizon, and number two, Bioshock. Like they just
Hmm.
have such interesting worlds and like lore and story of like how the world came to be the way it is in each of these games. Horizon
Hmm.
being robot dinosaurs and like set in the far distant future, and then Bioshock being alternate realities or alternate versions of our current reality, either in the sky or underwater, or like they're just such interesting settings. Like it would be really cool to see those come to life in live action. So yeah, those two I hope, fingers crossed, someday they're pulled off.
I'll tell you which one I'm excited about
Yeah.
for the future: The Legend of Zelda.
Oh, of course. Now, do you
Now, when
want it
that
to
comes
be
out,
animated or live action? I know live action is in the works, but would you want to see an animated one?
ooh, live action is a little bit tricky.
I mean, that's what I've heard, is that this one is live
I,
action.
for this, I prefer animated.
Yeah, me too. I wish
I
they would
prefer
go in like an
animated live
arcane
action.
direction for this.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
We'll see. We'll see. Now, Until Dawn. Is that official? I didn't know
Until
about that.
Dawn. Yeah, that I
Yeah.
don't know if it's official. I've heard rumors about it as is on a list here.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it seems like it's already lent itself to a live action since it's a very true to life capture style video
Mm-hmm.
game, right? Like they
Sure.
use motion capture, they use working actors and actresses for their cast. It's broken up, like their Until Dawn series. Most of the games in the series are broken up scene by scene, and you
Mm-hmm.
transition with title cards, so it feels like it's already in a very cinematic structure. It doesn't seem like as much of a stretch to adapt that, but who knows, right? Like
Yeah.
the games were made in the style of movies, so making a movie from the games would be pretty straightforward, hopefully, and
Yeah.
should
Yeah.
be pretty
I agree.
successful.
Totally agree.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know what else. If there's any other movie or series that might be coming up in the future, but I know Netflix has been investing a lot of like animated video game adaptations, like
Yeah,
Castlevania, Arcane. I know there's other
snatching them
ones
up.
too. They're
Yeah,
snatching it
and
and putting it
what
there.
one show we did not mention was The Witcher, which technically
Ooh,
counts as a video game adaptation, but
started
originally
strong.
the game adapted from book series, right? So the line is blurred there. We don't want to. We can't talk about everything that's ever existed around a video game adaptation, as the list is far too long. But The Witcher is sort of in the mix there. So shout out to Cavill slash the new one slash Yennefer.
Yennefer. Yeah, I think I'm glad you mentioned The Witcher. It started really strong, season one,
Yeah,
and I just stopped watching it after that. Season two was okay, and
yeah, but
yeah,
again, not technically a
that
video game
happens.
adaptation. So
No, it's not. It's not. But I remember when that series came out, the game blew up. Like people
yeah,
bought
and
it.
we've seen
It's
the
like
same with
some
Fallout.
yeah.
All of the
Now
Fallout series.
the only difference with Fallout, people don't know which ones to start first. You know, everybody's
I
like playing
actually
seventy
posted this on
six.
Twitter. Yeah, actually, let me go to my tweet because there
I'm
is
curious.
such.
People reply to you?
They
Oh no,
absolutely did. Yeah,
did
there's
they?
such a wide variety of responses, and of
Mm-hmm.
course, there's fan favorites of Fallout's. But out of the 25 responses I've got, New Vegas is mentioned almost half the time. Three, a lot of people say is really good, but that you need a bunch of like updates and mods and stuff. But and for the story, but
Mods,
four,
not for the
sorry,
console. I
four
mean,
four is the one with the mods. Three they say is a good starting point for newcomers.
mhm.
Four they say is good, but with a lot of mods. And for me, I'm just gonna wait until they re-release four within all of the quality of life upgrades. So
It's soon. I think it's like in a week or two.
yeah, so
Yeah,
I
I'm
can wait.
excited.
But
Yeah.
yeah, New Vegas 3 and 4 are far and away the ones people recommended. And of course, if you want to play with other people, you can always jump into Fallout 76, which is a multiplayer
hmm
online. And I think we said we were going to try to play that together.
Yeah. Hey, look, Rhea, I've been playing a lot of Fallout 76 on the Steam Deck, and it plays great.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
The
maybe we'll
only
do that.
thing, the text might be a little bit small, but that's
Ooh.
about it. That's
Okay.
about it. And you know me, I have
Okay.
to wear glasses. But besides that,
He's playing the
everything is
game,
good.
pushing up your glasses. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
might I might opt for the Xbox version, but we'll see.
yeah, yeah. No,
But
but
yeah,
I'm
there's
glad
a
to
lot of really good
see.
stuff out here.
And you know what, Ree? I know that was one of the conversations that we were having weeks ago of like about gaming events and what's next for gaming. I think this of video game adaptations, like the more that we see this, the more that it's going to open up for like a new audience to not only watch this, but maybe they will get them curious and will buy the game, buy a console. I think this is the way to do it if you have the right script, the right cast, the right director.
Hmm. And
That is going to
I would
help.
also say somebody from the game team involved. That seems
Yes.
to really help. It doesn't
Mm-hmm.
necessarily mean they're writing it or taking the lead, but just have them around just to ask a question like, "Hey, could we throw in anything cool here? Or does this look
Mm-hmm.
off?" Like it seems to really make a difference. But you're
Yeah.
100% right. We were talking about that earlier today where there are many people in the gaming industry who are analysts and executives who are rightfully expressing the difficulties and the challenges of having an audience that is maybe maxed out. Right,
Mm-hmm.
during the pandemic the video game space blew up, and in a good way. A lot of people started playing more games, a lot of people started talking about more games. We were certainly busier during the pandemic,
Mm-hmm.
and like the audience grew exponentially. But since then that rate of growth has not been sustained. People are going back to their jobs, they're going back to their old not old, but their former hobbies and habits, and they have less time at home playing games. And in order to keep growing as an industry, they really do need to find ways to expand to new audiences. And if they can't find new content fast enough, because the talent drain is real, then it's new audience either in different areas. So we're seeing a lot more games releasing worldwide, or at least along a wider breadth of countries. A lot of
Hmm.
games are finding more representation from developers in other countries. We're seeing a ton of African developers popping up, a ton of Indian and Southeast Asian developers popping up with really amazing quality accredited games. And as you said, Danny, expanding these licenses and IPs into other media. So we might see book series, we might see more comics or motion graphics, and we're definitely seeing a huge boom in video game adaptations for movies and TV. And I'm just eating it up. Like, give me more. This
Yeah.
is awesome. Like, I love living in this world right now. Like, the nerddom is healthy, and I just love seeing content and people celebrating the things that we've loved for years. You know.
Yeah. And I hope, fingers crossed, hopefully we'll see like an Alan Wake series or something like that. I think that would be great
I don't
for
know. I feel like Alan Wake lives in a really special place where it is already an adaptation to live action
yeah,
within a
yeah, kind
game,
of.
within a book, within
Hmm.
a TV series, because it's just so, meta media. I don't know. I
I
don't think it
look,
needs to be
I
adapted. I think it's already in every world.
I think that's like the perfect next big thing to come out. It has a great script, and I think people will get into it right away. Even people that have never heard of Alan Wake or don't
Yeah,
play games at all, I think they will love it. So we'll see. All
we'll
right, Ree.
see.
It's been a while now. Here, anything else before we wrap it up, or
No,
no?
I just think, there's lots of things we didn't mention, like, the Twisted Metal series and like Castlevania and like all these things that are fantastic. And like we said before, there's too many to name. And
Hmm.
video game adaptations are like they have a long history, but they're definitely on the rise at the moment. They're in vogue. Everyone's talking about them. So I'd love to hear everybody who's listening their thoughts about these adaptations, and maybe like what you wish was on the list of rumors or what you wish was coming out soon, because
Hmm.
there's tons and tons and tons of stories to be told here.
Yeah, and also check out our poll because we're gonna post it under the description of this episode. And
Yeah.
be involved, or you can send us comments, feedback, or
Send
hit
us
us up.
questions. We want to
Send
do a
us
questions
questions. Yeah,
episodes. We need more questions from you guys.
yeah. Go on YouTube also under the comments and send some questions there or comments and stuff there too. So, but thanks everyone for listening to the latest episode of the Danny and Rihanna show. We'll be back next week with more content and another different conversation too. So stay tuned. Until next time, we're out.
Bye.
Bye.